Hi everyone, yasas to another episode of Dimitra's Dishes. This recipe makes me so excited. I cannot wait to share it with you. It's another twist on a classic Greek baklava. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make roasted apple pecan baklava scrolls. These are so good. They're so good. If you're looking for a holiday dessert that you can make ahead of time, or if you're looking for something a little bit different, not an apple pie, but you got all of those flavors of the fall and of the holiday season. You have the apple and the cinnamon, buttery phyllo that's a little bit crispy on the outside. Of course, you get that syrupy soaked part on the bottom and on the inside. The roasted apples, so good. And of course, pecans are in here too. These are beautiful and so easy to make. Let's get started. Okay, we're gonna begin by making the roasted apple part of this recipe. This part really intensifies the flavor. And of course, you can use pears instead of apples if that's what you have on hand or if that's what you prefer. The pears or the apples will be totally delicious in this. So we're gonna take 3 pounds of apples. I'm using Gala apples today, but I'll give you all of the options on the blog for all the different apples that you can use. There are so many. And whichever ones you're using, you're gonna wanna peel them first. And if you have an apple corer, you can just remove the core, or you can use a knife and a spoon to do all of this. Get the peels off and then just slice these up, not too thin and not too thick, just so that way if they're too thin, they're gonna almost disintegrate in the oven once they're baked. And if they're too thick, they won't really roast well, they'll need more time. But I would go on the thicker side rather than the thinner side. This is the size that you're looking for. I'm gonna transfer them into a bowl. I already melted 3 sticks of butter and I just added a tiny bit more just so that way we can coat the apples with it. I'm gonna pour about 2 to 3 tablespoons of the butter over the apples, and then we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Light brown sugar is perfect for this, and 1 heaping teaspoon of ground cinnamon. Toss everything all together until the apples are coated, and then we're gonna transfer them onto a baking pan. So you're gonna need 2 baking pans for this, and I'll put half in one and then the other half in another. These are going to bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. These are going to bake at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius for about 20 minutes. Some of the juices will be released and they'll be fully cooked. Don't cook them for too long because the juices do not need to fully dry out. Just take them out after 20 minutes and they should be ready. Just make sure to rotate the trays halfway through so that way everything bakes evenly. Let the apples cool completely while we prepare the other parts of the recipe. So next we're gonna make the syrup because we need the syrup to be nice and cool. Cool syrup on a hot pastry is the rule, so that way it doesn't get too soggy and it stays crispy. So in this little saucepan over here, I'm gonna add 2 cups of granulated sugar, 1.5 cups of water. You can do the juice of half a lemon or of a little clementine that like I'm using here. I do prefer the orange flavor in this, and a cinnamon stick. This is gonna cook over the stovetop until everything comes to a boil and the syrup is completely dissolved. That just takes a few seconds. Turn the heat off and stir in half a cup of honey. Greek honey is my favorite, but use whatever honey you have on hand, and a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Take it off of the heat and set it aside so that way it can cool completely. Now we're gonna make the filling, the remaining part of the filling. So I'm using pecans today because it's just that time of year. Pecans are abundant at the supermarket. You can use walnuts instead, or a combination of walnuts and almonds. Whatever your favorite nut is, you can use it at this point. I'm just gonna chop them up in my food processor. We're using 3 cups. That's 290 grams, and I'll just chop them in 2 batches, just until they're finely chopped. Don't turn them into a powder. Transfer them into a bowl and then stir in 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon and a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. Mix that all together and set it aside. Once the apples have cooled to room temperature, you can just transfer them onto your cutting board and just roughly chop them, and you can put them in another bowl. I would not combine them with the nuts because it's just going to become a mess. It's going to be hard to spread onto the phyllo. Then we're going to take a pound of number 4 phyllo. This is a phyllo that's used to make baklava and desserts. You get about 19 to 20 sheets per pack, and you're just gonna divide it into 2 portions, 2 stacks. I have 19 phyllo sheets in this pack, so 1 stack will get 9 sheets and the other one will get 10. And we're not even buttering these. This is just such a quick and easy recipe. I'll just take 1 stack at a time and spread half of the apple filling over the phyllo and then half of the pecan filling on top of the apples. Spread it all over the top of the phyllo and then roll it up really tightly. And then we're going to cut it into 12 portions. If you want to, you can cut these a little bit bigger so each one can be just a little bit more substantial, but 12 is really a good amount, is a good size. So you'll get 24 scrolls out of this. If you run out of apples or if you like raisins and cranberries in your filling, you could add those as well. Roll them up and put them in a baking pan, and then the melted butter that we have, we're just going to pour this over the scrolls. This is just going to keep them nice and crispy, and it just saves the step of buttering each layer. My oven's temperature is reduced now to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 160 degrees Celsius, and this is going to bake for about an hour, or you can go a little bit over until it's really, really golden. So it can go up to an hour and a half or an hour and 15 or 20 minutes. Keep an eye on it because each oven bakes differently. You want them to get nice and golden. The longer you bake them, the crispier they're gonna get. And as soon as they come out of the oven, we're gonna pour that cooled syrup on top of them. The hardest part is letting them sit so that way everything comes to room temperature and that syrup gets a chance to fully absorb. These taste delicious with a scoop of ice cream on top, of course some Greek coffee on the side, and they're ready to serve. So I know you're gonna love these. The house smells so amazing. Make extra. If you have a lot of apples, you can roast apples in this way, and you can use them to serve them over ice cream, chop them up and put them in your oatmeal. I used to make roasted apple Napoleons at the bakery during the fall time. So good. If you want that recipe, let me know in the comments below and I'll show you how to make it. It's really simple and easy. These are so good. Like I said before, you can make these well ahead of time. So if you're hosting Thanksgiving or a special event and you want to do the dessert ahead of time so that way life will be so easy, you can assemble the whole thing ahead of time, freeze it before you bake it, and then you can thaw it in your refrigerator overnight. Bake it the day before you're serving it or the day that you're serving it. I would bake it the day that I'm serving them so that way they're slightly warm and you can serve them topped with ice cream. The ice cream melts on them and creates this creamy sauce. There's so many ways to do this, but I do have to take the taste test right now because I can't resist. It smells so good. And I know most people like baklava when it's very crispy on the outside and that's their favorite part. But my favorite part is the soggier part. Soggy is not a really good word. I don't think it makes you want to eat them, but you know what I mean. When you eat the syrupy Greek desserts that are made with phyllo, that soft phyllo or soft kadaifi that's soaked up the syrup, that's my favorite part. If you like them crispy, I'll put the options on the blog post so that way you can have that option to make them really crispy all around. I'll teach you how to make that. I'll even tell you how to make it right now, but if you want to read it later on, you can individually put them in muffin tins. Of course, it's much more work to clean that up later on, but that is an option. Or instead of baking them all in one pan, bake them in two pans so that way they have some space in between and they're not touching each other, so that way they get golden and crispy all around. But the secret to baking these crispy is the low temperature, so we bake them at 325 degrees for a longer amount of time. If you bake them at a higher temperature and quicker, they're not going to get really crispy all around. They're going to appear crispy, but they're going to be kind of uncooked in the center parts. So anyway, I'm drooling. I need to taste this. Oh my goodness. Somebody's got to come and take this away or I won't fit through the door tomorrow. So good. I would definitely serve this with some coffee. If you want to get really extra with it, ice cream is really good on top. I hope you guys give this recipe a try. You can print this out on the website, dimitrasdishes.com. Thank you so much for spending time with me today, and I'll see you all next time. Yes, us.